Oh, Detroit Lions fans, what's up? Detroit Den 313. I was hitting that robot, wasn't I? Was I hitting that robot? Was I hitting it?
Your poor kids, they just have to be embarrassed to be seen out in public with you. They just have to. I was just
Hey, listen, before we get going, hit that subscribe button. I don't know why Steve is hating on my moves, but he's losing his mind. I don't know. The moves are crazy. But you got hit that subscribe button, helps the channel out tremendously. Also, we got this member thing going on right now. We're trying to get to 100 members so we can give a bunch of it's Resurrection Day weekend, so I'm not going to say anything too crazy, but we're going to give a bunch of stuff away. The Lord knows how I am. But become a member, think about it. Again, it is highly recommended, but not required. Steve, did we get a couple new members?
2 new members, I believe yesterday, David Smith and Ed Stacy. So welcome to the club. Once we hit 100 members, massive giveaway, jerseys, gift cards, dinner gift cards, whatever else we can get our hands on, maybe some helmets if we can, some signed helmets if possible. We'll come up with a good giveaway. We'll do a members only live stream. Only members will be able to watch. And I'm just going to say this. If you don't know how to become a member, if you're having a hard time, there's a description in every single video episode. If that's not working, there's this great tool. It's called Google. Okay. It will help you become a member. Like, it's hard to explain. We've talked about it. Again, greatly appreciated, not required. We want to give away stuff to people who give to us. So Will, we got a juicy one today. I think it's, I don't think a lot of people are talking about this, so maybe we're the first ones to the table. But before we get to the table, it's got to be set. Go ahead and set it up for us, Will.
Listen, I'm down to set the table up, but I do got to say this before we get going. Last thing, I know you guys are probably getting a little antsy. Normally, it's not this long before we talk about the sauce. Steve, you have been talking about being in the trenches. By in the trenches, I mean at the house, just the baby trenches.
War.
And listen, I need you to know that it doesn't get better. That's what
I know it doesn't. That's what scares me the most.
Yeah, because I just had a 6-year-old come down here and tell me some things about a little situation that he had, and I'll tell you about it off air. But I just need you to know, if you're looking down the road like, okay, it's gonna be better here shortly.
It's not. You gotta work. I already know that. I just don't know how. I told you when I talked on real quick, little segue before today's show, but I told you I spent 8 months in Afghanistan, and that was a walk in the park compared to trying to feed a 1-week-old baby a bottle at 1 a.m. It was just absolute war. She just was not having it. And, eventually we sat down and we talked dad to daughter, and we got it figured out. But I know that's not the worst. I know the worst is yet to come, but it's been a blessing. I love being a dad. It's only been 1 week, and, it's absolutely amazing, especially being like, the feeling. Being a girl dad's just something. There's just something about it. So, yeah.
Dang, 1 weekend, you're a veteran dad already. I love it. I love it.
All right, let's talk some.
Go ahead. Yeah, to the business, guys. I apologize, but bottom line is this: the New York Giants are pivotal to the Detroit Lions draft success, or could potentially be pivotal. We don't want to make any guarantees, but did see some things that are interesting. So none other than the guy that we've been talking about, the guy that many of you despise us talking about, to include Steve, I should say, none other than Jalen Milroe. And before you click off, I'm not talking about Jalen Milroe coming to the Lions. So stick with me, all you Jalen Milroe haters. Jalen Milroe doing a private workout for none other than the New York Giants. So, Steve, I think both of our little spidey senses went off and said, would the New York Giants be drafting Jalen Milroe with their first round draft pick at the top half of the draft? Would they be doing that? No, I don't think so. I don't think that was what would be happening. But is there some other teams that could potentially want Jalen Milroe in the second round? Potentially. How do you make sure that those teams don't jump in and grab Jalen Milroe ahead of you? Maybe you make a trade with the Detroit Lions. Maybe you say, Detroit Lions, go ahead and jump back in this draft and let us take that pick 28 off your hands so we can get our draft pick and our top of the half draft pick, and we can also secure Jalen Milroe. And before you guys, because I know we got to stay ahead of these people, Steve. We got to stay ahead of them. Before they say, hey, why would they do that? They're at pick 34 or pick 33. That he could still be there or whatever. 1, another team could trade up with the Detroit Lions. 2, this number right here, Steve. That 5th-year option. When you get a quarterback, you don't want them for 4 seasons. You want them on that 5th-year option. So, Steve, do you think that there could be some sauce to this?
I think after reading the article the ESPN put out that the New York Giants had a private workout with Jalen Milroe, my ears perked up right away, and I started thinking the same thing you're thinking. Like the New York Giants have what, pick 3 in the first round? That's way too early. Like even if they did that, okay, hey, that's another quarterback in the first round. Slide some more players toward the Detroit Lions. That's a win for us also. But I think the more realistic version of this possibility is, it gets to be like pick 22, 23, and the Giants have selected Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, whatever they did at pick 3. And that's perfectly fine. But once it starts to get in those early 20s and Jalen Milroe's still there, and I think that's when the New York Giants will start looking at who's left in the first round. There's only 10 teams. Detroit Lions are one of them. So at the worst, what do we have? A 10% chance of this trade happening, if not better? Yeah, and like you said, teams want that 5th-year option. You want your quarterback on that possible 5th year to keep your team expenses down. If you pick up that 5th-year option, just like we're doing with Jameson Williams, it's a little cheaper than re-signing them. Similar, like I keep using this reference, it's Lamar Jackson. Like when teams are sitting there and the New York Giants have pick, I want to get the numbers straight before I pick 34. So if they want to swap and come up to 28 and get that first rounder, is it a big deal that the Lions move back 6 more spots and gain some more capital? And my dreams of having 4 picks in the top 102 becomes more realistic. I think that there's a very, very good chance. And I know I said 10%, but I'm thinking more like, in my opinion, I'll say this is probably like a 30% chance of happening, because, and I know that there's probably other teams that have had a private workout with Jalen Milroe. And again, we could put them in the same exact boat. We're just using the Giants as a reference point because it's absolutely confirmed that this did happen. So, what do we got to do? We got to move back 6 more picks and we can still get one of Brad's players in his pool. I think that this is going to be a hell of a deal. Giants, get your Abdul Carter, your Travis Hunter, whatever you want, trade back up into the first round, get your quarterback, because you guys messed up last year by not taking JJ McCarthy. And, I like Malik Neighbors. I think he was one of the best receivers in that draft class last year. And he was absolutely handicapped with Tommy DeVito playing quarterback, the Italian stallion, but they got to upgrade too. So how are they going to do that? It's not doing it at pick 3 more than likely. So I think that this would be a good trade for the Giants, a phenomenal trade for the Detroit Lions. Send us pick 65, and we'll call it a day, and we'll do business, Will.
Yeah, I love it. And then I think about the New York Giants, and obviously this isn't a Giants show, but we want to talk about it, why it would make sense. When you think about them having Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston out there, Jalen Milroe is a guy, we've said it a bazillion times, he needs to go to a place to where he doesn't need to get rushed on the field. He wouldn't need to get rushed on the field out there with the Giants, man. They got 2 veteran quarterbacks who can get the job done next season. And it also gives the Giants the opportunity to, maybe you match up Malik Neighbors and Travis Hunter. Wow. Right? You match up Malik Neighbors, Travis Hunter. You got veteran quarterbacks there in the building already. Now you move up to pick 28. And then you select Jalen Milroe. So you got your young quarterback for the future on the roster who you can bring along slowly. To me, it makes absolute sense. But I will say there's another direction that they could go in the same process. There's 4 good running backs, four really good running backs that I think are in this draft as well. That could be another situation. Maybe they trade up to get one of the running backs. And I know they got Tracy, who did a pretty good job, but I don't think he's a premier running back. But that's another way this thing could go too, because I was just bouncing all of the reasons why these trades could happen. The team could move up in the draft to try to get one of these guys. You got Henderson from Ohio State. You got Jenkins from Ohio State. You got Amarian Hampton from North Carolina. These are all running backs that I think it could be really good in the NFL. It would be an upgrade. So now you're telling me maybe you match Travis Hunter with those veteran quarterbacks, Malik Neighbors, and then you can get a premier running back as well. There's just so many reasons why I could see a team trading up to pick 28 to ensure they get one of these players on their roster. Because listen, even the teams that pick after us, like even when you're talking about a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, you think they might like to have one of these running backs to you know what I mean? So I definitely could see this happening. There's a few teams that need quarterbacks, and if you can get your quarterback and you can get your first round draft pick as well, I think it's a no-brainer. I'm really looking for the Detroit Lions to probably trade. I don't really think that they're going to just sit at 28 and select somebody. When I look at our roster, Steve, it just doesn't make sense to me. When we talk about this roster being a pretty doggone good roster already, why wouldn't you be aggressive? And both are aggressive to me. you can get aggressive, trade back, and say, hey, listen, I got a pool of players. That pool is still pretty full. Like, Steve, your pool is pretty laser focused. My pool, but they were shoulder to shoulder in my pool. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, listen, if that pool is still pretty
Your
full,
pool was
maybe,
like a globe. I didn't know where we were going to land.
yeah,
Like we're
hey,
we're in
all
an
over.
airplane. We're in an
Yeah, that's
airplane,
right.
and I don't know where the destination's going. Like,
Hey,
where's this bad
hey,
boy
listen,
coming down at? Maybe it's in the
hey,
ocean. I don't know.
I like to have my dessert and then my dinner and then my dessert again, man. I don't like to get boxed in. But yeah, man, if that pool is still there, then maybe he gets aggressive trades back and tries to get more of the people in his pool. If his pool has still an elite player in it, maybe he gets aggressive and moves up, man. I think this thing can go a few different directions. But if I were a betting man, which I'm not, Steve does the bets around here, and if I ever was gonna bet, I'd call him. Guys, if you got to bet, you
Don't
got
tell
a
me you
question.
lose all your
Yeah,
money.
yeah. DM Steve. I don't know. He's hit on some. Don't let him fool you. But um, if I was a betting man, I would bet on the stars aligning and us trading back in this draft if I was a betting man. But my hope is that we trade up. But I think the Giants absolutely make sense, Steve. I think I got to give you your flowers. You're the one that mentioned the Milrow private workout, and that's immediately I think where we both were at when you said it, man. I'm kind of excited to see what happens with this one.
Yeah, and again, I want to stress this that we don't know if other teams have had a private workout with Moreau. It's very very likely that someone like the Raiders or the Saints or the Jets or someone are in the same exact boat, and it doesn't change the narrative for the Detroit Lions because we're sitting at the end of that first round where a team makes their first initial pick in the first round, and then I think it hits pick 20, and those phones start ringing for those teams still left in the first round, and that just fits. That's our shoe that fits us. So, and it's not to say that Brad's not making calls either. It's not saying, hey, New York Giants, you did this in the first round. Do you guys want to move back in? Do you want to do business? Let me get pick 65. You guys can have 28. Take your quarterback, whether it's Jalen Milrow, who you've obviously shown some interest in. Do you think he's going to make it to 34? Because there might be some other teams trying to move up. You guys can make this deal right now. I think it does make sense for both teams. And I think that it just makes that pool a little bit bigger for Brad Holmes, where he says, hey, now I have an extra pick and there's 15 guys left in my 2-round pool. And I think I can leave here with 3 of them potentially. Like, I think that bodes well for Brad. And yeah, we don't know what he's going to do. This is just one scenario out of like 20. Like, he could move up, he could move back, he could stay pat. I mean, he could make his pick and then maybe he moves back into the first round at pick 32 or something. Like, we don't know. But when I saw this story and I started just thinking, Jalen Milrow's not going in the top 5. So if the Giants are showing interest, they're going to have to move back into the first round. You're most likely going to do that toward the end of the first round. So I was just looking at their draft picks and what would it take up? Like, we'd obviously swap 28 and 34, and then they have the first pick in round 3, pick 65. Did they send us that? So we leave this draft with pick 34, 60, 65, 102. Like, that's 4 picks in the top 102, and we could get 4 absolute studs. And there's no saying that Brad doesn't take those 4 picks and maybe he makes his pick at 34 and he packages some stuff up to move back into the 40s. Like, there's just so many things he could do that I love. Like, I'm all about leaving here with 3 solid players, 2 potential starters, and a solid role player is my plan. Positions, like, we've talked about all the positions in the football field. We're not going to keep hammering that, but we're going to get some answers here in a few days. And I like this scenario. I think it makes perfect sense for the Giants, perfect sense for the Detroit Lions.
Steve.
William.
You know that I can't get on here and not play the game of put Steve in the hot seat. Would you rather? So another thing that I've been thinking about, and I've mentioned it just a little bit, but I haven't talked about it at length. Would you be more interested in making this trade with the New York Giants to trade back in a draft, or would you be more interested in trading up to pick 21, where those good old Pittsburgh Steelers are drafting? Because I think they haven't figured out their quarterback situation quite yet either.
Are they rolling with Mason Rudolph? Is that their quarterback?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the answer, right? So would you be more interested in this trade, or maybe calling Mike Tomlin on the phone and just saying, hey, listen, man, I know you got a little quarterback situation. I know you were talking to that Aaron Rodgers character. And, I don't know if you want to hang your hat on that, considering what went on with those New York Jets. We got a young kid on our roster named Hendon Hooker. I know you were enamored with a guy named Jalen Milroe, but I think he's a better passer and he offers some athleticism as well. Maybe you give us that pick 21. We give you pick 28 and Hendon Hooker. Maybe they give us a late round draft pick to go with it if that's not if the Lions want to get a little bit more out of the deal. I haven't looked at the conversion chart on it. I did a while ago, and I think that the Lions they even could get like a fifth or sixth to go along with that, depending on how you look at Hendon Hooker. Man, mm, 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 would you be more interested in letting Hendon Hooker walk from this roster, going up to pick 21, swapping pick 28 to move up in this draft?
I think I don't have any emotional attachment to Hendon Hooker, and I don't understand what Lions fans are like naming their kids Hendon Hooker because they love him so much. I just haven't seen anything to really say that he's going to make a perfect fit in Detroit. I still don't know. He's great in preseason. I mean, I can't even say great. He was good in preseason. I don't have any emotional attachment. So if that's the trade, that's fine. But what I would prefer is moving back and doing this New York Giants package. And I talked to you the other day and I said, what if there's a world where we leave this draft with James Pierce Jr. and Josiah Stewart? And I think that becomes possible. I don't know if James Pierce lands or slides all the way to 34, but he could. I'm not saying I'd bet on that, but if we get him at 34 and then maybe we package some stuff and we move back up in the second round and we leave this draft with Josiah Stewart as well, I think that's what I would want. And I think it's more likely. So I don't know. That would depend on who's available at pick 21, who is Brad targeting? Because I think that the guys we've talked about in like a Shamar Stewart and a Michael Williams, we do have questions about them, their production and their health. So I don't think I like it from that standpoint. But if it's, I don't know, if it's someone else that Brad doesn't have any questions about and he's an absolute beast, like maybe a Mike Green, and he's wiped the slate clean with some of his personal stuff, and Brad thinks that he's the best pass rusher in this draft, and I'm with him. I could see that, but I don't know. It really would depend on who's available at 21 because I know we're high on Stewart and we're high on Michael Williams, but would you agree that we both have questions about them? So I don't know that at pick 21 you're getting a can't miss prospect, but I mean it's a possibility that I like, but I would just prefer trading back.
Steve,
William,
fix your tie, please. All those politicians answer your ties.
I gave you my answer. I said I'd prefer to trade back. I said I even gave you an exact what I want in a trade back. What more do you want from me? You want to know my IRS plans?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Now, listen. Bottom line for me, if that player pool that we talked about, and I liked your player pool too. So if that player pool, I'll say that both of us have talked about, if virtually any of those guys that are available at pick 21, I'm trying to do a contingent trade with someone. That's the bottom line. By contingent, I mean this. Hey guys, I want to work a trade with you guys for this and this. Obviously it's going to be a trade to where we call over the phone and verify. We're not locked in right now, but we're locked in that we were both under certain circumstances and certain players being available. We would be down to make this trade. So you fall to the draft, you get to pick 19, 20 or whatever, and you say, hey, listen, Pittsburgh, it's Phil how we liked it. Is it like you guys like it? Okay, cool. Because if that pool of players is there, let's say Colston Loveland is still on the board, you know what I mean? Hey, Pittsburgh, I'm down to trade up and make this trade. Hey, if that pool has now dwindled down to something I'm not comfortable with, there's no more guys that I feel like are elite players that I'm down to move up and get, then I would go ahead and pass and either be trying to make that contingent trade with somebody like the New York Giants or the Cleveland Browns or another team that it could be and trade back. But that's the bottom line for me. If there's got to be a number, and my number's 18 that I think would make the most sense, but there's got to be a number to where Brad is saying, hey, listen, if my guy or my guys are there at pick 18, pick 21, whatever, teams that would be willing to make a move or where it made sense, I'm going to go get my man. I'm going to go get him right there. I'm going to pull the trigger and it's over. So that's kind of how I'm looking at this thing, man. If I'm looking to make my trade, it's got to be contingent. I call these guys on the phone. Hey, contingent on this, and this. We're trying to do this ahead of time. I know Brad said that people haven't called him, but he didn't say he hasn't called people. Brad's on that phone all the time.
I don't think Brad would spill the beans on if anyone's called him right now. But I mean, I don't know. I did hear him say that in the press conference, and someone asked, and he said no, and he said it pretty straight faced. But I was thinking, was he prepared for that question? Did he know it was coming? Because I don't know the benefit of saying no. I would say, yeah, people have called me. I'd want to get the phone lines busy, and I'd want to get some more teams, which is like, hey, someone's calling the Detroit Lions, or maybe they're open to do business. Maybe I give them a call. So I don't know that he's telling the truth, but it doesn't make sense for him to lie when he answered that. So I don't know. Again, man, I used to play some pretty high stakes poker back in the day, Will, and I would not want to sit at a poker table with Brad Holmes because he says something and you're wondering, is that really what he's saying? Is he really telling me the truth, or what's going on here? Because I don't know. I thought that question when he was asked was very interesting when he said, no, nobody's called me. But you're right. Maybe he's doing the calling. Maybe he's trying to move. So I don't know. I will say that I think you said the number is 18. That's where you think he'd be willing to move up. I think the number is 12 because he's done it before. That's my baseline for Brad Holmes' history. He's moved up from 32 when we had the Rams pick after they won the Super Bowl. He moved up to 12 to take Jameson Williams. So he jumped up 12 spots and only gave up a third round pick, I think. So my baseline is pick 12. If he starts calling around there, what type of player are we looking at? Are we looking at one of the more elite edge rushers or whatever else he sees fit? So I think at pick 12, that's where I'm going to start saying, man, is Brad on the phone? What's going on over there, Brad? What's going on? Is that 313 area code popping up on some other teams' cell phones? Because I'm curious, but I just prefer this New York Giants package. I think it just fits both teams perfectly, gives us some extra picks. And like he said, I can't remember the exact words. Let's see if I have it in my notes here, but he was talking about just a quality quantity of players and just creating problems. If you get 4 picks in this draft, I think you could do just that. You could have a wave of problems for other teams, depending on, if it's offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver, we don't know what he's going to do, but I think it fits that narrative of creating a problem.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100%, man. I think bottom line is this for me. I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns, New York Giants. Highly probable we'd be doing business with those guys, man. I think the Browns have a ton of picks in this draft. The Giants have just a perfect scenario and the need for a long-term quarterback. Listen, they got Milroe out there. They got Jackson Dart out there, and as well as we got a guy that's pretty good on our team. I truly believe somebody's going to be doing business with us one way or another. I can't wait to see if Hendon Hooker is a Detroit Lion after this draft. If you're still watching, put it in the comments. Do you think that Hendon Hooker finishes this draft as a Detroit Lion? Because I think Detroit Lions fans are pretty much 50-50 on that. And I tell you what, I don't know the answer myself. I was in a space to where I thought it was kind of a for sure thing that he probably ended up getting an opportunity somewhere else. But I also can see, hey, letting him get one more season under his belt and then maybe making that deal next year if you don't believe in him. And if you believe in him, getting ready to turn over the keys to him. So I think this is going to be a pivotal draft for Hendon Hooker, pivotal draft for the Detroit Lions. Man, I'm on the edge of my seat. Just how many sleeps are we away? Like
today's Saturday, so we got 5 more days before the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one more thing. I can already foresee the comments. The Giants having the 3rd pick. People are going to say, why wouldn't they just take Shedeur Sanders? They could, but what if they have Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter rated higher, and that's their best player available? Because I know we like to throw out that term. It just depends on what the New York Giants have them rated as. So if they take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, then they're probably not taking Shedeur Sanders, obviously. So we just I think we have to mention that they might have one of those 2 guys rated higher than Shedeur, and they still want their quarterback. Shedeur Sanders probably is not going to be there at pick 28, so they could be moving up with the Detroit Lions for probably Jalen Milroe. So let's just throw that out into the world, because I know some people are going to be saying, what about Shedeur Sanders? I'm aware of what could happen, but it depends on what Joe Schoen of the general manager of the New York Giants has on his board. He might have 2 or 3 guys rated higher than Shedeur Sanders.
That and what's better? You got to do what's better. Travis Hunter and Jalen Milroe, or Shedeur Sanders and no Travis Hunter. What's better? Yeah. You know what I mean? What's better? Travis Hunter and Hendon Hooker, or just Shedeur Sanders? Like that. That's the bottom line.
Or Abdul Carter and Jalen Milroe. Like, it depends on what they want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, because I tell you what, if I'm the New York Giants and I got the opportunity to match up Travis Hunter, Malik Neighbors, veteran quarterbacks, young quarterback coming in, getting an opportunity to learn and shoot. If you're talking about Hendon Hooker, you're talking about a guy that's been around the NFL 2 seasons. So I get all this Jalen Milroe talk, I get all this Jackson Dart talk, but to me, I would be after Hendon Hooker. I would be making phone calls. I would be calling Aaron Glenn to see if he give you some sauce on what Hendon Hooker is and what he isn't. I would be calling some of these guys who left Detroit, this off season, guys like Ife Melifonwu. Hey man, listen, you don't got you don't got loyalty. You're not playing in Detroit anymore, man. Can you just give us a little sauce on what Hendon is and what he isn't, man? How is he at practice? What type of dude is he? You know what I mean? Because the bottom line is this to me: if Hendon Hooker is anywhere near what his potential is, I would want to match him up with a situation where he has Travis Hunter and Malik Neighbors at receiver. What are we doing?
Hey, good for the New York Giants. They still can't block anyone. So, I mean, they're still quite a ways away, but there's just so many different roads for the Lions. This is just another one that we discovered. You got anything else for today, Will?
Well, that's it for me, man. Leave it in the comments. Let us know how you're feeling. Today, really, we're talking about trades. What's the most probable trade that you can see happening in this upcoming draft, and which one do you want to see?
Yeah. Shout out to the Detroit Pistons. Playoff basketball tonight, 6 p.m. on top of some WrestleMania. Tonight's a big night. Yeah, we got Detroit Den 313 dropping an early afternoon episode. Some Detroit Lions basketball, maybe. Detroit Pistons basketball playoff against the New York Knicks, 6 p.m. WrestleMania tonight. It's a loaded Saturday. Rainy. Stay inside, have some cold drinks, watch some Detroit Den. Hit that subscribe button. Stick around. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.